Hi guys, I'm Shmi. Hello and welcome back to the channel where you join me at the Volkswagen Group Night as part of the 2019 Geneva Motorshow. Now that means we have brands like Lamborghini, Bugatti, Porsche and Bentley, and we can take a look at some of their newest cars, including this right behind me. I think we're going to be focusing on this. It's just been unveiled, the Aventador SVJ Roadster. That's right, Lamborghini have taken the roof off their most extreme V12 bull, the Aventador SVJ. This has just been revealed, so let's take a look around at that, the Bugatti 110-year anniversary car, the Bentley Continental GT Number 9 edition, and some more electric products from the Volkswagen Group in general. But let's get started and take a look around. It goes without saying that this is an incredibly cool car, the new Lamborghini Aventador SVJ Roadster. Now it's just had its world premiere, the global debut, with the covers coming off here ahead of the Geneva Motorshow. So let's get started taking a walk around of the most potent convertible raging bull, and then we'll also head back there where you can spot the Bugatti Chiron Sport 110-year anniversary car. So we're going to take a look at that as well as exploring further here around the Volkswagen Group event. But to kick things off, look at this. The drama of this car is just incredible. So the SVJ Coupe launched last year. They released 900 units of it, along with 63 edition to celebrate the founding of the company in 1963. We're going to be having 800 units of the Roadster, so slightly a rarer car, like with the SV based prior to the Aventador S launching, where there were 600 of the Coupe and 500 of the Roadster. This time it's 900 plus 800. 800 of these. Of course, a few things have had to be reworked to remove the roof. Naturally, you have the mechanism as seen in the Aventador S, so it's a two-part Targa roof where the carbon fibre panels are stowed away inside the luggage space found up at the front. Back here you've got the housings for the roll hoops and the like, but you still, like the Coupe, have a race-style rear panel where you can open up using the racing latches and lift off the rear deck. Now I'm going to talk a bit about the specification of this car because it comes from Lamborghini's Ad Personam department, highly unique and bespoke, as you can see from the very beginning with the paintwork. This is called Bronzo Zenas. It's a colour satin bronze colour, finished with the Bianco Phanes accents, the highlighting pinstripes that you can see all around the car, as well, of course, as a number of the Italian tricolore flags and all of the glossy carbon fibre to contrast against that. Because, of course, the SVJ, back here, you had on the Coupe as well these bronze parts inside the engine, but you've got a 6.5 litre naturally aspirated V12 making 770 horsepower. You've got that gearbox that gives you the proper bangs and kicks when you shift at speed, and it's four-wheel drive. The four-wheel drive system retained doesn't necessarily make it the lightest car in the world, but this thing just looks the part of a supercar in every possible way. And I can tell you, from those exhaust tips, it also sounds the part too. I've been lucky enough to drive the SVJ Coupe, and really it lightened things up. It made the car more nimble, introducing rear wheel steering, the 4 different driving modes, the Ego mode, for example, which allows you to customize the car to a certain extent. Those are technologies introduced on the Aventador S, and a few updates came with that change in the generation. Look at that interior though. You've got the carbon fibre bucket seats, the SVJ embroidery there on the side bolsters, but the central panels. The styling of this is awesome, with the bronze stitching as well to match with the exterior, Lamborghini embroidery on the headrest, even the stitching around the steering wheel that you have too, and the glossy carbon fibre just to finish it off. That's a very, very cool interior to the car. You can see the stripped out areas down towards the footwells, where you've just got the carbon fibre of the central tunnel, a small little window back there that you can also raise and lower independently of taking off the roof. So if you have the roof in place, you can still lower that rear window to get all of the noise and all of the drama, which I think this car is in a nutshell. You've got center locks, you've got carbon ceramic brakes, it has Lamborghini's Active Aero. So like what was introduced on the Performante, this car has ALA, Aerodinamica Lamborghini Attiva, which are the Active Aero flaps. So here in the front, for example, you can see those flaps that open to direct airflow around the car and from one side to the other. Very specifically, if you're turning one way, the airflow changes. And coming around to the back, what it actually does, look at the size of those intakes for the cooling to the radiators. Those are ginormous. Also up here as well through to the engine. But the ALA at the rear brings airflow in through this intake in front of the engine here, or behind the engine I should say. And then on the underside, have a look here. You've got the holes. Can you see these all the way through? Which literally the air is pushed out of those to basically change the downforce behavior of the car depending exactly how you're driving. So That's a pretty special thing to have seen here. We knew, I guess, that the Roadster was going to come. It follows a lineage of Aventador models. You know, the Aventador itself had a Roadster, the SV had a Roadster, the S had a Roadster, so it was only a case of time that the SVJ would as well. It does mean, however, for a limited edition, there are going to be 1,700 SVJs in total, plus the special editions that get made as well, which you might argue is slightly on the high side, but I can tell you from driving it, every bit of the drama that you want out of a car like this. I'm going to leave the SVJ, but we will come back to take a look at that, the Bentley Continental GT Number 9 edition, part of their centenary, their 100th anniversary. Next to these, we have the Ducati MotoGP bike from 2019, of course part of the Volkswagen Group as well. And then here, we have the Bugatti Chiron Sport 110 ans Bugatti, 110 years of Bugatti. Now, I was lucky enough to take a sneak peek at this very car just a few days ago at the Bugatti Atelier in Molsheim in France, but they're making 20 units of this car based on the Bugatti Chiron Sport to celebrate their 110th anniversary. Now, what's particularly special about this is that the front sections of the car are exposed satin carbon fibre, whereas the roof and the rear sections are painted, yet they've managed to achieve exactly the same optics, and you'll see this when I come in closer. You can see the carbon fibre there, the weave exposed through the lacquer over the top in satin steel blue. Also, steel blue paintwork on different materials to make the exact same look. Now, that's quite a stroke of genius, and actually in person looks fantastic. Now, as well as those, it's based on the Chiron Sport with the sky view roof, so you get those two glass sections, and I went into more detail about this car, but the Chiron Sport saved 18 kilos of weight through more use of carbon fibre for the mirror arms, for example. It has new lighter weight wheels, a new exhaust system, stiffer suspension also at the rear to give it a slightly more dynamic drive, but still that 8-litre quad-turbo W16 that makes 1,500 horsepower and 1,600 newton meters of torque through the all-wheel drive system. We don't need to go into all of the performance numbers. It is ballistically fast. Around the front, though, it just looks menacing. This finish is remarkable. It looks incredible. You have the traditional Bugatti horseshoe grille worn at the very front, flanked either side by the 4 headlights. The whole shape of this looks aggressive, looks purposeful. And then on the inside, you can see some of the unique touches, some French racing blue accents, for example, the brake calipers, the French flags on the door mirrors, the interior as well with that stripe that runs up the backrest of the seat, and up at the very top as well you can see the embroidery. Also here on the fuel filler cap and the centre as well, you have that enamel medallion as well, and the steering wheel. Again, just a work of art. But around the back, one of my favourite things, this rear wing. Have a look at that. The French flag on the underside, so when the wing goes up in handling mode or as an active air brake, if you're going hard on the brakes, it completely goes up almost vertically. You get a good view of the French flag at the back there. But even here, the glossy carbon fibre work surrounding that new exhaust system. This car looks incredible, and so it should. 3 million euros net, 20 units, all sold. Almost unsurprising, the first special edition version of the Bugatti Chiron, based on the Chiron Sport, so it comes with all of those updates as standard. And yes, to me, this thing looks fantastic. And that, by the way, is Alan, a Russian friend of mine, another YouTuber, does some great stuff. If you're Russian, guys, check out his channel. But this, really like it. Up here then, let's have a look at this. The Bentley Continental GT Number 9 edition, celebrating their 100 years. There will be 100 units of this in total. Some bespoke touches that come from Mulliner, Bentley's bespoke department, but basically it pays tribute back to a Bentley 4.5-litre blower from the 1930s, the Bentley Boys back at the time, and a number of touches that go with that. And I have to say, the paint colour of this is extraordinary. It looks magnificent under the lights here. But of course, the new Bentley Continental GT, I got to spend a little bit of time with the car back when it launched. The muscular looks of it, the sharpened lines that you can see around the bodywork. This is a crease that works particularly well over the rear arches. And then on the interior of this car, just have a quick look at it. Check this out. Look at that. Founded in 1919, of course now being 2019, the Bentley logo for the puddle light, and the very green of the interior with the golden touches. The number 9 by Mulliner that you have here, the perforated seat, the stitching, the contrast stitching against that. Look at the craftsmanship and materials of this. This thing is absolutely magnificent. A carbon lip spoiler as well at the back. Number 9 edition, 100 years of Bentley. This is really actually very nice as a bespoke package available for the car. I'm quite impressed looking at the interior of this. Of course, a number of touches. You have that folding screen in the center where you can rotate it between 3 different displays. Obviously, you've got the digital dashboard as well. But yes, it's got a sort of blend of tradition with the leather that's used, while still being based on the modern Continental GT. Yes, they didn't change it too much from the previous generation, but they didn't really need to. They needed to keep that distinct look and just improve the dynamics of it. 4-wheel drive, of course, it's not the lightest car in the world. It has a big W12 up front, twin turbo W12, but it goes about things in quite an effortless way. And the grille at the front just sharpened up as well, narrower, wider, more aggressive around the edges from the previous generations of the car. And yeah, I think that's a pretty good looking celebration of 100 years. Now, a big part of Volkswagen's moves at this event is their move towards electrification. Be electrified is the subject of the night. We've moved to a hybrid here, the Porsche Panamera Turbo SE Hybrid. This thing makes 680 horsepower. That's a remarkable amount of power if you think about it for a comfortable 4-door saloon car. Almost a saloon car, a rear kind of hatchback. But let me squeeze through because this is where most of the attention is right now for the Volkswagen ID Buggy. Now, of course, this is basically about showing their new platform that can be adjusted to just about any kind of body style. In this case, the idea of it being in a buggy, a 2-seat buggy, open top. Maybe there are only certain places in the world that if that came to production it would work, but the idea is that this could be the underpinnings of a lot of the different models inside the Volkswagen range. I mean, that's exactly what this platform actually does. To continue exploring, we have Seat, Skoda, Audi, and some more Volkswagen, but I'm learning as I go here. We've got the Seat L Born, electric small hatchback, I suppose. Actually quite cool the way they've done the lights of this. Interesting design around the front. Continuing on, we've got the Skoda Vision IV, the Kamiq, I think it's called. Again, small SUV. I'm going to come through actually to take a look at this, the e-tron GT concept. Now, I haven't actually seen this car. It's not the first time that they've shown it, but that's really actually quite cool. Naturally, it's going to be sharing some parts with the likes of the Porsche Taycan, their new, the Mission E as it developed their electric saloon car. But this takes some of the Audi styling, the Audi style grille in an electric car with a lot of space on the inside. I suppose it's an A5, A7 in size. Audi Sport badge is worn on the side as well, but that's a pretty cool looking take on electric cars, and that's one of the things to me electric cars need, is to start looking good, and this is actually doing a quite nice job of that. Look at the size of those rear arches, the way they're pronounced. Look at that light bar around the rear as well, even a kind of shaped diffuser to it. Clearly a spoiler that raises up here at the back as well. Yeah, quite nice. Can manage that. If electric cars start working and looking like this, the future is going to be very bright, and that's exactly the purpose of everything that's going on here. So moving on from the e-tron GT, we have the Volkswagen Multivan 6.1 in a dual-tone design, which would not necessarily be my preference, I'm not going to lie. Not really the kind of thing I normally film here on the channel, but good to explore and see a bit of what they're doing. But to be honest, the big stuff for me is what we're looking at over the other side. To bring things to a close though, this is what we're going to leave looking at. The Aventador SVJ Roadster in this bronze paintwork, which just looks mean and menacing. To be honest, there is not much more that defines supercar than the Lamborghini Aventador. Now, the SVJ Super Veloce Jota might be the end of an era for this generation of Lamborghini's flagship V12, but what comes next will be particularly interesting in the move towards hybrids and electrification and what they do with it, whether it will be a mild hybrid vehicle, whether it will include some of the technology from the likes of the Turbo SE Hybrid remains to be seen. All I can tell you for now though is that this looks remarkable. The star of this evening for me, well, if I hadn't already seen the Chiron Sport, I think I'm slightly spoiled on that front, but just looking around, particularly in the Ad Personam design and livery of this specific car, it's very, very impressive and looks very, very wild, very extreme, very radical, exactly what Lamborghini's flagship should look like. The Aventador SVJ Roadster, I hope you've enjoyed having a little walk around of this, seeing all of the crazy, look at that, the kind of S-ducts at the front, airflow in there that comes up over the bonnet, the small things you see every time you look at this. But for now, I'm going to leave that right there and say farewell, but thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this tour around the Volkswagen Group Night at the 2019 Geneva Motorshow. So thank you very much for watching. Be subscribed for plenty more videos from this year's show, some first looks at some of the latest and most exciting supercars out there. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.